What's up? Yeah. S M R. Man, that is some stuff right there. Before I jump into it, I'm gonna tell you these headphones. These are the ones I was telling y'all about last time when I was like, "You can't put it in the hole." You know, like I was freaking out a little bit, but turns out everything don't gotta go in the hole. You could be cool without that. You know, I still play my game. I'm show you how another thing, but for today, it's all about this ASMR. Um, Came across this when I came across a little woman. I don't know her height, but yeah, just know, yeah, she is a sensation like this ASMR right here. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead jump into this article. It's very long, y'all. Um, maybe like maybe 20 minutes or so. So I'm maybe reading some stuff at a quick pace and slowing down when it comes to some scientific word or whatever. Like I believe I got a couple in here, but other than that, we gonna go ahead and get into it, man. Play this nice little music and we gone. How ASMR became a sensation. The brain tingling feeling was hard to describe psychological oddity until suddenly it was a YouTube phenomenon. And we about to figure out why it became YouTube phenomenon and all that great stuff, y'all. So hope you up for a treat and you know, just get into them. Here you go. When Jennifer Allen watched videos of space, she sometimes felt this peculiar sensation, a tingling that spread through her scalp as the camera pulled back to show the marble of the earth. It came in a wave, like a warm effervescence, making its way down the length of her spine and leaving behind a sense of gratitude and wholeness. Allen loved this feeling, but she didn't know what caused it. It was totally distinct from anything she'd experienced before. Every 2 years or so, she'd take to Google, try and find, some things, type in tingling head and spine or braingasm. For 9 years, the search didn't turn up anything. Then, around 2009, it did. As always, Allen typed her phrases into Google, but this time she got a result on a message board called Steady Health. The post was titled Weird Sensation Feels Good. It goes as follows. I get this sensation sometimes, there's no real trigger for it. It just happens randomly. It been happening since I was a kid, and I'm 21. Some examples of what seems to have caused it is like, watching a puppet show when I was a kid, and when I was being read a story to. As a teenager, when a classmate did me a favor, and when a friend drew on the palm of my hand with markers. Sometimes it happens for no reason at all. The poster went on to demand an explanation. In the discussion, nobody had one, but many described a similar feeling. A silvery sparkle inside the head, a euphoric braingasm. A feeling like goosebumps at the scalp that faded in and out in waves of heightened intensity. Many people agreed that this sensation was euphoric. Aside from an actual orgasm, it's probably the most enjoyable sensation possible, one user wrote. Its triggers were as varied as watching someone feel out of form, listening to whispering sounds, or seeing Bob Ross paint landscapes on TV. Oh my gosh, she remembers thinking. These people are talking about exactly what I experienced. In time, the post begot a second post, Weird Sensation Feels Good, Part 2. As discourse on the unnamed feeling evolved, users shared accidental triggers found online, a man unlocking a damaged padlock, someone brushing her hair. These videos had a gentleness in common that many of the users found hard to describe. Some spoke of the need for a research group to better understand the sensation. Still, others expressed fear over social repercussions. Were they perverts? Were they sick? Were they indigo children? Pleasure is rarely consequence-free. People had been told they were on a drug or they had lice. Things like that, Allen says. And there was the factor of people calling it a brain orgasm, and it sounded like some sort of erotic fetish kind of thing. Allen had invested a lot in the discussion, even expressing interest in the fledgling research effort. She saw how the feeling had improved her sense of calm, but she worried that the subtext of a tingling sensation would hold the group back from illegitimacy. The whole thing sounded too hokey or too horny. If they wanted to generate scientific interest, they need a more scientific sounding name. And so in February 2010, she sat down to brainstorm some ideas. Others had tried to describe the weird sensation, but spacey nicknames like attention-induced head orgasm had never quite caught on. Allen felt a debt to the feeling's New Age fans, but she also saw the usefulness of more clinical language. When no one existing term could meet the both conditions, she made up a new one. Autonomous sensory meridian response, or ASMR. She started with autonomous because it was a feeling from within. Sensory was self-explanatory. Meridian worked triple duty. Suggesting peak, but also orgasm and energy pathways of traditional Chinese medicine. Response was just to say that it was not a constant state. It happened in reaction to a set of stimuli, like whispering, gum chewing, and tapping. Hey, girl. I wish I'd made it a little shorter, Allen says, but at least it sounded better than braingasm. She debuted the new name of the Steady Health Board by announcing the ASMR group she had registered on Facebook. Discussion board members migrated en masse, and soon membership spanned 6 continents, a blogger in South Africa, an artist in Detroit, and ethnobotany researcher working in Australia. They started sharing links to videos again, not the accidental triggers, of more, well, it was a new genre created for the express purpose of inducing ASMR. These videos often featured autonomous, like ASMR, but more so featured anonymous women delivering a soft-spoken voice over narration. According to message board lore, the first of this type was a video titled Whisper. What? Hello. It was posted in 2009, but languished in the algorithmic scrap heap on YouTube on account of its weak, unsearchable title. Now, under the search engine-friendly banner of ASMR, this new genre offered a new demand way to trigger the once serendipitous sensation. A new crop of YouTube creators emerged to serve up the feeling to those who knew they felt it. At that point, a small but growing subset of the public. Around the time when Allen found Study Health, there were, by one count, 12 whispering channels on YouTube. 3 years later, that number had more than tripled. Soon a hard-won Wikipedia page would further extend the reach of the term and further enshrine the new video genre. By 2015, the ASMR group had made itself irrelevant. When Alice set out to name the weird sensation, she thought she was simply describing what she felt. She couldn't foresee that her term would enable a whole new form of entertainment, or possibly something that transcended entertainment, born of this kismet of algorithmic fate as it brushed up against the crossed wires of the brain. Today, the action of ASMR plays out almost exclusively on YouTube, where legions of, mostly female, created release, by my account, around 500 new videos each day. Over the course of reporting this article, I spent at least 200 hours on the site watching women chew gum, swallow octopus sashimi, S-A-S-H-I-M-I, simulate eye exams, turn pages of books, and peel drag glue off artificial ears. I watched a teenage girl roleplay as a 14th century nun, treating me for the bubonic plague. I watched a 2-hour recording of hairdryer sounds. In the ASMR scene, new trends evolve quickly, driven by the spirits of innovation, corporate product placement deals, and a process of human algorithm interaction that pushes the best new material to the top. Any triggers that starts to find fans is endlessly taken up and re-performed, ripped off by different channels for ad dollars. At least until the next trigger takes its spot. 1 month, cranial nerves exams are in. The next month, creators are all shaving the bars of soap, chewing bricks of raw honeycomb, or eating buckets of KFC. The feeling that fuels this growth is little understood. like the dark energy pushing our universe outward. The internet is vast, but it brings like minds together. At its best, it serves to unite kinky freaks, dissidents of oppressive regimes, and sufferers of obscure diseases. I don't think it does all that just as me reading this, but whatever. I don't know. Okay. At the same time, this tendency can serve the cruel or misinformed, giving shared language to Nazis and incels and other black dopes who were once kept mercifully isolated from one another. This feature of the internet is, at best, value neutral. In any case, ASMR tests its limits. The YouTube subculture is bonded by not belief, but rather an ineffable sensation. Perhaps for the first time, the internet has revealed the existence of a new feeling. Thinkers since ancient Greece, if not before, have found themselves obsessed with the true nature of the senses. Even modern philosophers get tripped up discussing qualia, Qualia. The irreducible stuff of consciousness. Subjectivity is hard to isolate. By definition, and examples of new metaphysical sensations are not exactly a regular occurrence. Synesthesia, make sure I said that right. Hold on, I Googled it earlier. Let me see.
Synesthesia.
Yeah. Synesthesia, often experienced as associated numbers with colors, is one of rare examples. Though individuals since at least 19th century have reported tasting words, seeing sound, or hearing colors, it took until the 1980s for scientists to prove that the shared experience actually correlated with real, observable activity in the brain. Thanks to the internet, ASMR seems to have leapfrogged the science entirely. Like synesthesia, it was first discovered by way of individual reports. Unlike synesthesia, it has not depended on brain imaging or for cultural acceptance. Our foremost proof of ASMR comes from some people searching for the term and others making videos to populate those searches. All these YouTube users may be right that the feeling is real, but the scientific research still lags far behind. Craig Richard, a professor of physiology at Shenandoah University, or Shenandoah University, it's in Virginia, first heard the term in 2013 on a podcast. I'm listening to the beginning of this episode thinking, this is a bunch of woo-woo bunk, he told me. Just as he went to turn the podcast off, the subject changed to the painter Bob Ross. By then, a well-known ASMR trigger, Richard's eyes lit up. In childhood, he spent afternoons watching Ross paint landscapes on TV. He remembered caring more about the painter than the painting. It was his demeanor. It was the sounds he made and the way he talked, the way he looked in the camera. When the episode was over, Richard went to his computer to look up the research on ASMR. At that point, he found nothing academic, only websites and forums that led him to the Facebook group. He reached out to Alan, and in collaboration with a graduate student and member of the community named Carissa Burnett, conducted an informal online survey that, over time, has received more than 25,000 voluntary responses. Where do you feel tingles? Head, neck, arm? Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel aroused? Richard also started ASMR University, an online archive that today remains a useful clearinghouse of research on that topic. Still, scientific understanding has moved slowly. Funding for ASMR research is hard to justify, and the diverse nature of ASMR triggers can lead to the noisy data. To date, ASMR University lists just 10 peer-reviewed papers. More than half of those were published in author-paid journals. The most rigorous studies use fMRI to map the activity of blood flow in the brain as participants report feelings, the tingles. Outcomes have suggested in very small samples that ASMR might have something to do with socially bonding, affiliative behaviors, known as release feeling good hormones like oxytocin or oxytocin. Richard, for his part, considers these outcomes from an evolutionary biological perspective. He believes that the tingles of ASMR are meant to assist in reproduction and survival, and points out that triggers like grooming, whispering, and eye gazing all bear strong resemblance to the ways that humans soothe infants. In adulthood, A range of similar behaviors contribute to intimacy between mates. This may be the case, but our current understanding still leaves behind more questions than answers. If ASMR plays or played a key survival role, why does it seem that only some people can feel it? Why should it come to our attention only now? It does not seem very likely that the pace and scope of research will ever catch up to the cycle of new content. For now, our chief authorities on ASMR are women and girls alone at their computers, manipulating objects for a faceless growing public. Around the time that Whispered One Hello was picking up speed in Alan's Facebook group, Gibby, today one of YouTube's top ASM artists, was a sophomore in high school. I've withheld her last name for below explained reasons. Like many teenagers these days, she often had trouble falling asleep. Sometimes she would sneak her phone into her room and watch YouTube videos to relax her mind. This habit evolved by a haphazard process led by the whims of an infinite sidebar. Makeup tutorial segued to massage, which soon gave way to ASMR. Since that fateful discovery, Gibby has watched ASMR videos every single night. The ritual followed her off to college, where the videos became a kind of white noise while she studied. ASMR was, by that point, not just for those who experienced the tingles. The genre had begun to find broader appeal as a sleep aid, an alternative to guided meditation, and a drug-free online version of Xanax. The medium had developed its own microstars, women with handles like Gentle Whispering ASMR and ASMR Requests, who filmed themselves crinkling paper, tapping their nails on large wooden bowls, dealing cards, brushing hair, and pouring cold milk into bowls of Cocoa Krispies. One of Gibby's favorites, Heather Feather ASMR, went beyond mere sound effects, performing full-scale role-play scenes infused with attentive, deliberate sound. In one, Heather administered a colorblind test, tapping her wand on a laminated chart. In other words, another one, she played as a tattoo artist, trying on a pair of purple nitrile gloves, or nitrile, N-I-T-R-I-L-E. Watching Heather's videos made Gibby feel as if her brain was swimming in a good way. She played the same scenes over on repeat, returning to parts that gave her the tingles. At that point, in 2016, many ASMR artists treated YouTube like a hobby. Across channels, production value varied widely. A creator might post a perfect tapping video, then disappear from the site forever. Gibby thought that maybe with regular effort, she could produce a better product, a quality channel with a regular schedule that tested out new creative triggers on a regular basis. And so, in the summer before her senior year, she started her own channel, Gibby ASMR. 6 months after graduation, she was earning enough in ad revenue to treat it as her full-time job, y'all. Today, she has about 1.8 million subscribers on YouTube. I first met Gibby in Los Angeles at Daiso, the kind of Japanese discount store that sells lots of things that you didn't know you needed. Our plan was to shop for some tingly props. Any little odd or end that might yield good, recordable sound. Gibby was in town for a public appearance. That day, a video from her account was trending globally on YouTube, a roleplay called the ASMR Sleep Clinic Tingle Experiment. She scrolled through the trending tab on her phone, rifling through the other clips in the top 10. Out of the generous bowling ball versus bulletproof glass, ramen, iPhone stuff, or ramen. I don't know if they had noodles. Probably was noodles. If most entertainment aims to shock or delight, then ASMR is barely entertainment at all. It's more like a massage for the mind. Gibby's main goal is to relax her fans. If you fall asleep during my video, that's a compliment. A boon on the platform. Wait a minute. She said, sleepy fans tend to leave videos running. A boon on the platform that pays dividends for view length. In this way, for Gibby, the most valuable engagement is actually a near total lack of engagement. Even when viewers stay awake, straightforward entertainment remains somewhat beside the point. On Gibby's channel, some of the most requested content is not a character or a joke, but the sound of fingers tapping on a bread-shaped piece of cork. Fans request the Toaster Coaster, by name, the closest thing ASMR has to Freebird. That day, she was searching for similar objects made on soft, dull wood or thick glass. We entered the store to the whir of air conditioning. Gibby made a beeline toward a rack of piggy banks. Whenever I pick something up, I'm always listening to it, she said, tapping her nails on a piggy bank's candy-coated glaze. The lacquer, L-A-C-Q-U-E-R, made a dainty plinking sound like the loose filament of a shaken, burned out light bulb. She moved on to a rustle strand of orange tinsel. She then brushed her hand up against the grain of the vellum birthday card. We turned down an aisle of fake plastic swords. When I hit 300 subscribers, or 300,000 subscribers, I did a 300 role play of Queen Gorgo Leonardia's wife, she recalled. That one was really cool, but people were kind of like, what is going on here? Sometimes I'm like, why don't I even try to put effort into a big role play or something like that when I can pick up something and be like, okay, here's an hour of me tapping, and I'll get like 3 million views. What the fuck? Gibby is the LeBron James of touching stuff. She touches things professionally as she paused to fondle a makeup brush. I heard the grip of her fingers, pads reluctant to give up on the cellophane wrapper. When she smoothed the fleece of a microfiber towel, I cringed at the drag of rough collars against terry cloth. Gibby moved with a demonstrative intent of a former high school theater kid. She is one. She is hot in the way of a friend's older sister, projecting an air of humble self-assuredness. I think a lot of what has to do with why my channel has become popular is because I put a lot of my personality. Oh my God. She stopped to interrupt herself and crinkled a plastic package of pens. I put a lot of my personality into my videos, she said. For those who watch her at home, this apparent emotional availability can foster a range of attachments. Gibby says that most of her viewers are kind and effusive. E-F-F-U-S-I-V-E. Under her videos, they leave thousands of comments preaching the sound of her voice and its power to alleviate their insomnia, anxiety, and PTSD. She can make ads relaxing, one fan delighted. For others, the tender tone can be misleading. Unloading her shopping basket at the till, she told me the story of an obsessive fan who believed she was talking directly to him. He sent her thousands of messages, she said, and she filed a police report. Other fans have pried into her past, digging up old records from high school. Creepiness and harassment are widespread problems for the young female creators of ASMR world. Gibby takes extreme precautions to protect her own privacy. She doesn't share her last name or relationship status or even what city she lives in. When she films in an airport, she is careful to choose an unplaceable background. If she happens to meet a fan on the street near her house, she pretends that she's there on vacation. I've learned a lot about cybersecurity, she said. If you ever want to start a YouTube channel, delete everything and then go back and delete more. Make everything private. Act like you have 5 million subscribers when you're starting because you can't go back. Outside the store, Gibby laid her purchases out on the pavement. We surveyed the hall, the ceramic piggy bank, the strand of orange tinsel, a thick glass jar with a plastic ID, a plastic lid, a stress ball shaped like a bakery bun, and a random assortment of candy and snacks. Gibby unwrapped a pack of high chews and popped a fruit-flavored cube in her mouth. Man, I'm getting tired of reading this. My voice is cracking up. I feel it in my throat. Just to digress. Jesus, are we almost done? We almost done, y'all. Stick with me. People are naturally curious, she said, deforming it against the hollow of her cheek. The suction made a spitty sound. When she live streamed, she went on. She even gets nervous about the weather giving away her location. They can look up if it's raining and know where I am. That's scary, I said. It's scary, she agreed, but all I could hear was the sound of her tongue working the last bit of taffy from her teeth. Intimacy is a human need, but the ways we fulfill it are historically contingent. Of course, there are explicit means like friendship and sex, but we also have all kinds of rituals that provide human connection as a second-order perk. When I go to the hair salon, I am there to get my hair cut, but that doesn't mean I don't like the attention. While I listen to a podcast, I enjoy the information, but I can't deny that I also like the sound of friends inside my house. Lots of things in everyday life like throw off accidental rays of affirmation. Often these second-order perks are so ingrained in first-order activities that we do not think to express them as desires. You might enjoy having your feet touched, but you don't go to the shoe store just for fun. Our culture has names for people who do. Freaks, crooks, eccentrics, even perverts. Not crooks, but cooks, K-O-O-K-S. when it's something sexual. Somehow, we Americans have spent decades debating sexual gray areas without sufficient language to describe the different shades. Is a back massage sexual? What about sex from a married man? Is it sexual to lie on the floor of a yoga studio with 20 total strangers? To someone, you show your penis in the comedy club? To let a tailor measure your inseam? To enjoy it? A lot of times when we talk about sex, what we mean to discuss is all the stuff around it: loneliness, passion, intimacy, connectedness, power or lack thereof. It's hard to talk about ASMR without nuanced language for the things that come near sex. In the absence of such terms, the genre seems doomed to appear sexual. A suspect jumble of tingles and pleasure and subservient women you watch alone at your computer, who in our time can look at a video of a young woman doing anything and not wonder who else is watching and why. Are those who feel the tingle just a bunch of repressed weirdos? Questions like these have played ASMR ever since Jennifer Allen first cringed the word braingasm. A lot of visuals you might see in ASMR videos relate to how you might visualize what happens during healthy foreplay, Craig Richards says. People talking gently to each other, people touching other lightly, gazing into each other's eyes, expressing physical or vocal care for each other, making the other person feel safe. If ASMR is not sexual relief, then Richard believes it might still belong to a general complex of safety, caring, connectedness, and trust. It could heighten a sexual moment in a way, the same way that massage or you can heighten a sexual moment, but oil by itself is not sexual, he says. We get most of our nutrition from our food, but we may supplement with vitamin pills. That's how I view ASMR videos. There are very few people that are probably going to substitute real world relationships. Every activity has a threshold of acceptable intimacy. For most people in the United States, it is normal to express that you like having your hair shampooed in a salon. It is less normal to say that you derive pleasure from taking an eye test or by making eye contact with an inquisitive waitress. These effective norms can be counterintuitive, especially considering how many of our jobs require employees to feign loving attention. Still, they exist for a reason. It is one thing to think or ask someone to fill your shoes. It is another to enlist them in your search for human comfort. Part of the joy of ASMR is the way it allows us to invert the equation. In ASMR videos, people engage in regular tasks while drawing those second order pleasures to the fore. The usual priorities of the eye test are distorted. Now it's less about nearsightedness and more about whispered instruction and warm, light ASMR combines the one-way sociality of podcasts with the outcome-driven imperative form of porn. In an age defined by loneliness and dislocation, it's a lot to ask someone to turn that away. Nevertheless, the gender imbalance of performers seems suspect. The viewing pattern even looks similar to porn, but this perhaps goes beyond mere horniness. For much of human history, women have been cast into caretaking roles. With centuries of imbalance, it makes plenty of sense that our brains would find peace in these strange and gendered invocations of comfort. Is it healthy? Is that normal? Really, who can say? Sitting alone in front of a screen, nothing seems that weird anymore. Here, I suppose, is the place to come clean and admit that I've never felt ASMR. In watching those hours of YouTube, I often felt calm, and I sometimes felt horny. But not ever once did my brain let loose a tingle. By the end, I found myself feeling isolated, confusingly excluded from a mass phenomenon beloved for its success at assuaging loneliness. In a last-ditch attempt to fill it for myself, I flew up to Oakland to meet Melinda Law, co-creator of the service Whispers on Demand and a provider of one-on-one ASMR experiences. Liu grew up in Singapore and studied fine arts and history at Goldsmiths in London. She first got involved with ASMR through Whisper Lodge, an immersive theater piece she produced with the playwright Andrew Hoffner. Whispers on Demand grew out of that project, less theatrical, more therapeutic. Law's clients were mostly women, many in the tech industry. The sessions cost $150 per hour. Our meeting was held on a morning in September in a rent-by-the-hour conference room. I was invited to take off my shoes. In advance of the session, I'd fill out a form, confessing my tingle virginity. Lord had arranged a pile of maybe triggers in the style of surgical instruments tray. The session began with us sitting side by side, and soon she was using each object on my body, rubbing the lavender oil on my wrist, crinkling the tissue paper near my head, and pulsating my knee with my metal tuning fork. I lay down on the couch, and she styled my hair with a white cotton band, then let my hair down, then styled it again. She polished my ear with a ridged cotton swab. It felt nice to be touched, if just by way of a Q-tip, but only one time did I maybe feel a tinkle. As the tip of a small, clean makeup brush outlined the greasy crease of my nose, I felt something creep on the side of my head, like a cold millipede crawling underneath my scalp. Were these the famed tingles of ASMR? Maybe so, but I pushed them away. I'm not so libertine or well adjusted to make use of pleasures beyond the social script. The old law was calming, trustworthy guide. A few times I thought I might scream for no reason. Soon enough, our session was over. We both stood up and walked to use the bathroom. Law waited for me outside the stall. When I was done, I leaned on the sink and offered a few words of thanks from the session. Law didn't ask if I felt anything, and for this omission, I was grateful. Usually, paid intimacy concludes with some kind of definitive transaction. I'd paid online, so I offered her a hug. We stood for a moment, embracing in the bathroom. Then I pulled away, thanked her again, and returned to the noisy city streets alone. Wow, okay, so it's 31 minutes. And yeah, y'all saw that over there. Maybe I'll share that with y'all some other time. Until then, like I'm finna go to sleep. I should have did this at another time. Anywho, appreciate y'all. And